We are joined by NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson. He is in the devastated community of Altadena. That's the fire that was burning to the east of Los Angeles. Steve, good morning. Fortunately, those feared 70-mile-per winds did not end up materializing yesterday, and things are expected to be calmer today. What is the latest from firefighters? What were they able to get done with a little bit of a reprieve from what we were anticipating?
Yeah, finally some good news overnight, right, Savannah? We're finally out of the red flag winds, the particularly dangerous situation that we've been in over the last few days. And then those winds over the last really better part of a week have ended. We never really saw, as you mentioned, the 30 to 50 mile an hour winds at lower elevations. We got some bigger wind gusts in the mountains, and it did cause some spot fires, some brush fires, but firefighters jumping on top of those almost as quickly as they sprung up. What does that mean, you ask? It means more of a perimeter on the big fires that we've been monitoring. The Palisades fire was at 19% yesterday, now 21% containment today. This fire, the Eaton fire, 35% containment yesterday, 45% containment today. That's during the wind event. It'll be interesting to see what firefighters can get done now that that event has ended, but we do expect more red flag winds as early as Monday of next week, maybe even Tuesday. Firefighters are used to operating sort of in windows to try to knock out as much as they possibly can. They're going to try to do that before, obviously, early next week. Savannah?
So is there any word on when people could be able to return to the community, whether that be their home or to remains of what used to be their home? We know that it's not necessarily safe, and that's the reason for the delay here. But people, of course, just want to know what's left.
Yeah, major source of frustration, as you can imagine, Savannah. A lot of people have been turned away, have been trying to sit in lines to get back into these massive, massive evacuation zones. The problem is, obviously, there's still an active firefight right now. There's still smoldering and hot spots. You may have seen the structure behind me. We've seen smoldering just here, but besides that, power lines, hazardous materials, the health department, the EPA going to want to do a sweep in areas like this to make sure people aren't breathing in the wrong things. So the estimate right now on the hardest hit areas, it's going to be at least weeks before people can even see the ruins of their homes. Obviously, terrible news for people that just want to find out what's going on, but unfortunately, it's the reality on the ground.
Steve, another tough reality, several schools were destroyed. Now across LA Unified, schools have been back in session, but some districts now are having to scramble to absorb 7,000 displaced students. The school that they once went to no longer stands. How's that going?
It's tough, as you can imagine. I mean, first of all, a lot of these kids were involved in COVID-era policies when they had to, do remote learning. So it's just a difficult situation. It brings back past trauma for the kids themselves. Thankfully, the governor has instituted emergency powers, which relaxes some sort of stipulations, particularly on the school districts. They don't have to worry necessarily about meeting enrollment numbers. It makes it easier so kids can transfer schools even out of district, which is not something that a lot of kids can usually do. There's also more opportunities for in-person learning, for remote learning. It's just a difficult situation that a lot of people sort of have to deal with. The schools themselves are beefing up resources thanks to federal and state aid, but it's just, obviously, there is no perfect solution to that. It's something that is just managed as we go. Savannah?
Steve, quickly, if you could just tell us, because I think this is an important one. We're starting to see more calls for accountability. New lawsuits filed regarding both Eaton and Palisades fires. We know a look for the source of the Palisades fire, as well as questions swirling about response times. Tell us about that.
Yeah, quickly, multiple lawsuits now against the SoCal Energy. It's the SoCal Edison, I should say. It's a major energy company here at this fire. A lot of people pointing towards some sparking utility poles. There was some video of a possible start here. The Edison company saying that there were no anomalies before that happened. Certainly doesn't rule it out, but obviously the CEO of the company fighting back. Meanwhile, the Palisades fire, they're pointing to a particular, almost like a hiking trail, which was above the scene. Didn't seem to be any sort of utility sparking there, so they're looking at the possibility that it was human-made. Doesn't mean it was arson. Of course, that's on the list of possibilities, but, obviously the investigation here continues, Savannah.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.